The gift of life. I am an old man now. I sit in my chair and think of my son, James. James was always a happy child. He smiled every day. He played with other children in the village. But James was different. He looked healthy, but something was wrong inside his heart. When James was small, he ran and played like all the other children. But as he grew older, he began to get tired very quickly. He would sit down and rest while others kept playing. I knew something was wrong. I took him to the doctor, and the doctor told me the bad news. The doctor said, "James's heart is weak. He does not have much time." I could not believe it. I felt my heart break. How could this be? My son, the one I loved so much, might not live for long. We tried many things to help James, but nothing worked. The doctor said there was only one hope: a new heart. But finding a new heart was very hard. Many months passed, and I was afraid that we would not find one in time. One day I heard about a man. He was very old. His heart was still good, and he decided to help. He wanted to give his heart to James. This made me feel some hope, but I was also scared. The doctor said that the surgery was very difficult. James might not survive. I held James's hand and told him, "We will try. We will do our best." He smiled at me, but his eyes were full of fear. I could see that he was very scared. We both knew that the surgery was our only chance. The day of the surgery came. It was a cold morning. The hospital was very quiet. I held James's hand as we walked into the room. He looked up at me with his big eyes. "Dad, will I be okay?" he asked softly. I smiled, but inside I was scared. I wanted to say that everything would be fine, but I knew the truth. I said, "We have to believe in the doctors, James. They will do their best." The doctors took James away. I watched him go. My heart was heavy with worry. I sat in the waiting room and time seemed to move so slowly. I couldn't stop thinking about my son. Would he survive the surgery? Hours passed, and then finally, the doctor came to see me. "The surgery was hard," the doctor said, "but we did it. James is alive." I felt a huge weight lift from my chest. James was alive. But the doctor also said, "There is still a chance that James may not wake up. His body is weak, and it will take time for him to heal." I went to see James. He was sleeping. His face was pale, and he looked very small in the big bed. I sat beside him and held his hand. I whispered, "I love you, James. I am so proud of you." The next few days were full of worry. James did not wake up. The doctors gave him medicine to help him, but his body was still very weak. I felt hopeless again. Every day I prayed. I prayed for James's heart to be strong. I prayed that he would open his eyes and smile again. I did not want to lose him. I couldn't lose him. I loved him too much. The days went by, but James still didn't wake up. I stayed by his side every moment. The doctors tried everything they could, but there was no change. My heart was breaking. One day, an old man came to visit the hospital. He was very kind and gentle. He asked to speak with me. "I know you are going through a very hard time," he said, "but I think I can help your son." I didn't understand. "You? How can you help my son? I asked, surprised. The old man smiled. I have lived a long life and my heart is still strong. I want to give my heart to your son. It may be the only chance for him to live. I was shocked. But you are very old. Your heart is weak. How can you do this? He looked at me with kind eyes. I know my heart is old, but I want to help. I have lived my life. I want to give my heart to James so he can live his. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't believe it. This man wanted to give his heart to my son. It seemed impossible, but the old man was serious. He said, "Please, think about it." The doctors agreed to try the heart transplant. It was a very difficult decision. I was scared. The doctors said there was a very small chance that the surgery would work, but it was our only hope. The old man went to sleep in the hospital that night. He was ready to give everything for my son. I stayed with James, holding his hand. I whispered, "Please come back to me, James. Please come back to us." The surgery would take place the next morning. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the old man, about my son, and about the chance we had. I hoped, prayed, and waited for morning to come. The next morning, the surgery began. The doctors worked quickly and carefully. I sat in the waiting room, my heart racing. I couldn't stop thinking about the old man and the chance he had given us. Was it enough? Would it work? Hours passed, but it felt like days. I couldn't sit still. I stood up and paced back and forth. I wanted to know what was happening, but the doctors would not tell me anything. I had to wait. Finally, after what seemed like forever, a doctor came into the room. He looked tired, but there was a small smile on his face. "The surgery was a success," he said. "Your son is alive." I couldn't believe it. I started to cry. "He is alive?" I asked, tears of joy streaming down my face. "Yes," the doctor said. "He will need time to recover, but he is alive. The heart is working well." I felt a rush of relief. I wanted to run to my son's room, but the doctor stopped me. "He is still weak," the doctor warned. "He needs rest." I nodded. I didn't care how weak he was. All that mattered was that my son was alive. I walked slowly to his room, my heart full of hope. When I entered, I saw James lying in the bed. He was still pale and weak, but his chest was rising and falling. The doctors had done it. The old man had given us this gift of life. I sat beside James and took his hand. "I'm here, son," I whispered. "You are going to be okay. You're going to be strong again." As I sat there, I thought of the old man. He had saved my son's life, and now James had a chance to live. I wished I could thank him, but I knew that the old man had gone. He had given everything for us, and now he was gone. I stayed by James's side, waiting for him to wake up. I knew it would take time, but I was patient. My son was alive, and that was all that mattered. The heart of the old man was beating in James's chest, and I knew that we would be forever grateful for his selfless gift. Days passed, and James slowly began to recover. His face grew a little less pale, and his eyes started to open more often. I watched every small change with hope in my heart. The doctor said he was doing well, but I could see it in his eyes, too. He was getting stronger every day. One morning, James smiled at me for the first time since the surgery. It was a weak smile, but it was a smile. "Dad," he said softly, "I feel different." I held his hand tightly. "What do you mean, son?" I asked. "I feel better," he replied. "I can breathe easier. I can feel my heart. It's strong." My heart swelled with pride. The heart that now beat in his chest was not just a symbol of life. It was a gift from someone who had loved enough to give it all. The doctor came in that morning to check on James. He smiled at us both. "It looks like you're making good progress," he said. "You're a lucky boy." James looked at the doctor, then back at me. "I'm not just lucky," he said. "I'm alive, and that's because of him." I knew who James meant. The old man had given his heart to my son. I felt so grateful, but also so sad. The old man had saved James's life, but he had lost his own. I spent many quiet moments thinking about that old mantis, didn't even know his name, but his sacrifice meant everything. He gave my son a chance to live, and I would never forget that. A few days later, I went to the hospital chapel. I wanted to say goodbye to the man who had saved my son's life. I lit a candle for him and said a prayer. I didn't know where he was, but I hoped he was at peace. When I returned to James's room, he was sitting up in bed. His face was no longer pale. His eyes were bright, and he was talking more. He still had a long road ahead, but he was alive. I smiled at him, my heart full. "You're going to be okay, son," I said. "We're going to be okay." James nodded and then said something that made my heart swell even more. "Dad, I want to help others just like he helped me. I want to give too." And in that moment, I knew that the old man's spirit lived on in my son. His gift had changed James's life, and now James wanted to change the lives of others. That was the greatest gift of all. James's recovery continued, and soon he was able to leave the hospital. We walked out together hand in hand. The sky was blue and the air felt fresh. It was a new beginning for both of us. As we walked, I couldn't help but think about everything that had happened. The journey had been long and full of fear, but we had made it through. My son was alive. He was stronger than ever, and he had a heart that was full of life. The road ahead would not always be easy, but I knew now that nothing was impossible. James's second chance at life was a gift that neither of us would take for granted. He had been given a heart, and now he would give back. Days turned into weeks, and James's health continued to improve. He started school again, and I saw him laugh and play with his friends. His life had returned to normal, and he had a bright future ahead of him. But James never forgot the old man who had given him his heart. Every day he thanked him silently, and every year on the anniversary of his surgery, we would visit the old man's grave. We would leave flowers and say a prayer. James would talk to him as if he were still there, sharing his thoughts and dreams. "I'm doing it, Grandpa," James would say. "I'm helping people, just like you did." I was proud of him. He had become a kind, compassionate boy who wanted to make a difference in the world, and I knew that no matter what happened, The old man's legacy would live on through my son. As we sat together on a park bench one day, James looked at me and smiled. "Dad," he said, "I know you miss him. I miss him too. But I know he's happy now. He gave me life, and now I'm going to live it fully." Tears filled my eyes as I hugged my son tightly. "You're going to do great things, son," I whispered. "I'm so proud of you." And as I held him, I knew that life had given us both a gift more precious than anything else in the world.